What's going on, ladies and gents? It's your boy Neosynthesis coming at you with the first of many Zoo deck profiles that I'm sure will end up finding their way to this channel. So I mentioned earlier that I was going to be doing one more free-to-play run. Hopefully before the season ends I can get Platinum. I'm not 100% sure if that's really feasible, but I digress. So we're here with our very first version of what I'm calling basically Proto-Zoo. So if you guys don't know, Zodiac is a deck from a few years back that just has a very powerful core. And basically we're playing Zodiac and good cards going second. Right now our deck is a bit scuffed, I will admit, because we have... we don't really have everything we need. So I'm sure you guys kind of know the card economy in this game is really friendly towards super rares and normal cards, but the ultra rares are pretty scarce. So we have a lot of ultra rares we still need to put together. So we're running some more budget options, and when I go over the budget options, I'll be sure to tell you guys. And then there's some budget options that are better in high elo that you could run, but I'm down in bronze right now, and I kind of want to. I want more removal for spells and traps, really, is what it comes down to, instead of potentially a card like Droll and Lockbird. But first and foremost, I'm going to talk about the Zodiac cards. So yeah, I guess I'll start off with just talking about the Zodiac names. Zodiac Bunny Blast is first. We basically just run this as our 10th Zodiac. We're only running a 10 just basically because we only want one or two in our hand. There's really only one Zodiac we're super excited, one or two Zodiacs we're super excited about drawing, but you know, any particular Zodiac that we get is going to be able to enable our Xyz plays. And then basically when you use this card as an Xyz material, it gains the effect that during either player's turn, when a spell or a card effect that targets this card, you can activates rather. When it activates, you can detach one XYZ material from this card, negate the activation. When it activates a spell card or effect, spell card or effects, not just like I didn't read that effect correctly at first, but you know, if your opponent uses a spell to target and destroy your thing, and you've got a Zodiac Bunny Blast under it, you can negate it. So sometimes they don't read the card and don't know what it does. You can get that off. But typically they're going to be able to play around that. The Zodiac that we are actually happy about, one of the Zodiacs we're happy about drawing is Zodiac Whiptail. The cool thing about this one is that we can, when it's in our hand or on the field, we can target one Beast Warrior Xyz monster we control and just attach it straight to that card as material, which is phenomenal. So, and when we use this card as Xyz material for a Beast Warrior card, it gains the effect that if this card battles an opponent's monster after damage calculation, banish that monster. So it's like a one-sided DD Warrior Lady, which can be quite good to get over just like anything that can be destroyed or anything that can be targeted or whatnot. This is a good little out to that if you put it under an Xyz card. Obviously drawing it is really good because we can just slip it under one of our Zoo Xyz, which we'll talk about a little later. The next card is Zodiac Thoroughblade. So Zodiac Thoroughblade says that when this card is normal special summon, we can discard one Zodiac card, and then draw one card if we do that. So pretty good just to cycle through the Zoos in our hand and get more cards that we can't search. This deck doesn't really do a ton of searching. I'll talk about a couple of the tutors in the deck, but this card, it's good to discard a Zoo and draw a card, because typically we can resummon the Zoo with another card that we'll talk about in just 1 second. And then if this card is Xyz material on a Zoo Xyz, we basically just get piercing battle damage, which is not super great, but it comes up sometimes. 1600 attack. This is also like your best normal summon Zoo just to beat down. We are always gonna overlay another card typically. And the last Zoo that we're running, so this is our last of the 10 Zoo names we're running, and we have some cards to tutor them, we'll talk about in a moment. But if this card is destroyed by a battle or card effect, which we are oftentimes triggering with our own cards, we can target one Zodiac monster in our graveyard, except Zodiac Ram special summon it, but it's just special summon it, so there's no negation. Sorry, that's another card. And then if we use this card as material, when a trap card targets our card, we can detach it. So it's pretty good. It's pretty good. Not a bad card at all. But these two are the Zoos we're really thrilled about drawing. We would definitely run 4. I would run probably 5 and 5 of these cards. Maybe not quite that crazy, but like maybe 4 and 4 if we could, but we obviously can't. So I guess I'll talk about, I don't really want to, so the rest of the monsters are hand traps, so I'm going to kind of lump them in with my metagame choices at the end. So just kind of bear with me. The next card I want to talk about is Fire Formation Tenki. Essentially all you need to know is that when this card's activated, we can search a Beast Warrior, so any of our zoos from our deck, so it's like kind of our 11th, 12th, and 13th zoo card. And then when this card's on the field, Beast Warrior monsters gain 100 attack, which is cool, you know, extra damage is always nice. And then we are also running Pot of Desires, which basically says banish the top 10 cards from your deck and draw 2 cards. It's a pretty heavy cost, and it really stinks when this card gets Ash Blossomed. But most of the time, getting that +1 is in your card economy is going to be good, because you go from having, you know, 5 cards to 6, basically, because you draw 2, the cost of 1. And this deck plays so much like good stuff, and we don't really necessarily need any particular card in the main deck to win the game. All of our winning cards are really extra deck cards. And the cards in our main deck are all good, but they're mostly good in a non-searchable way. Really, the only tutoring we do from the entire deck is with Fire Formation Tenki. So Pot of Desires, that cost is pretty good for this deck, because banishing stuff is typically not going to be a problem. Getting 2 more cards in your hand is going to be usually it can oftentimes be the difference between winning or losing. So, and then I guess for the last, like, engine, but it's not really engine. This is more of an extender card, but it does do something, so we'll talk about it. Basically, we just run Monster Reborn, because in this deck in particular, Monster Reborn's super good, because all of our zoos basically are 1-card XYZs. We'll talk about the effects when we get to those. But for now, all you need to know is Monster Reborn's actually good in this deck. Alright, now I'm going to talk about kind of board breaker cards. We're going to go through this a little bit weird. So the first thing we're running is 3 Lightning Storm. This card's it's completely insane. Being able to destroy all of the spells or traps your opponent controls if you don't control a face-up monster, or be able to destroy all the attack position monsters they have is super good. It's crazy because it's versatile. We're also going to run the inferior versions of these cards too. We're going to run Raigeki and Harpy's Feather Duster. I know they don't have restrictions on their activation conditions, so we can use these cards when we already have a board, but these cards are a little worse because they are locking us into either way. I would say that Raigeki is 100 times worse than Feather Duster. Feather Duster is insanely good, but Raigeki is just a little bit it's a little bit weak, but it's definitely good, and it's better as you are kind of further down in the ladder. I guess this is not really a board breaker card, but it kind of is. Nibiru, the Primal Being. Essentially, the text that you need to understand with Nibiru is that when your opponent special summons 5 times, we are basically allowed to just tribute all of his monsters, or if he summons 5 times, we are allowed to tribute all of his monsters, turn him into a Nibiru token with just a bunch of attack that usually is not going to be good for them. We can just pop it with one of the numerous cards we have in our deck to deal with something with big attack. It's not really scary whatsoever. Alright, so I think that's really it for the board break cards that we have in our deck right now. I want to, in the future, run... Well, I suppose these cards are kind of board break cards, but they're more so removal for the lower elo. So Galaxy Cyclone is just a normal spell card. Oh, I don't like Galaxy Cyclone as much as I thought I did. But this card's good against Eldritch. I thought this card was a quick play spell, but it's actually not. But essentially, the text says target 1 set total trap on the field, destroy it during your main phase, except during the turn this card was sent to the graveyard. We can banish it and then pop a face up, so we can destroy one of Eldritch's set cards, and then potentially destroy one of their face up traps, their floodgates. And then we're also running 2 Galaxy Cyclone. I'm thinking I might turn this into 3 Cosmic Cyclone and only 1 Galaxy Cyclone, just because Cosmic Cyclone is a quick play, and then I think that we're just gonna go ahead and just do that right here. So the reason that I want, and I don't even really necessarily want any of this card in my deck anymore, because I kind of just pretty much exposed how bad it is. So we're just gonna go ahead and take it out, because I thought it was a quick play card. So we're just going to go for another one of those, and I'll talk about why I'm not maxing out on that card, or where I wasn't before. I didn't even have 2, but I think that card's better. Essentially, Galaxy Cyclone, pay 1,000 life points, target 1 spell trap on the field, banish it. Super, super good against Eldritch. Banishing a card that you know is one of their Eldixirs or their Golden Land cards so that they can't get their graveyard recursion effects is super, super strong. So running this kind of as a more budget option. I mean, there's some better super rare cards potentially we could craft, but I'm moving towards an optimized list. I'm not trying to build the best budget deck I could build, because I would think I would be crafting a lot of super rares that are superfluous, that I don't need. So yeah. Essentially, that's going to do it for the board break cards. I figured I'd throw Nibiru in here. I definitely, if you have 3 Nibiru, run 3 Nibiru. I'm definitely, you guys can see my collection. I'm trying to get it all figured out. 3 Nibiru, 3 Ash is probably good. So I guess that is a good transition to the hand trap. So we're running 3 Maxis, best hand trap. So I crafted 3. You should do the same. This card's completely unfair. Being able to draw cards every time your opponent special summons, yeah, this is just not okay in modern Yu-Gi-Oh. The next best hand trap, I guess Nibiru is technically the next best hand trap, but I already talked about Nibiru. Ash is super good right now in the meta, just being able, I mean, you guys know Ash does. Being able to stop searching, sending, yeah, super good. Pretty much every deck is going to use a card that you can negate with Ash Blossom, so super versatile. Definitely run as many as you have. Yeah. And then the other hand trap that I run is Droll and Lockbird. So Droll and Lockbird, probably less familiar to you guys. If a card is added from the main deck to your opponent's hand, except during the draw phase, you can discard this card, or send this card from your hand to the graveyard, excuse me. For the rest of this turn, cards cannot be added from either player's main deck to the hand. Super good. Never locks you out. I mean, that rarely comes up because you're usually discarding this on your opponent's turn, or sending it on your opponent's turn to activate the effect. Yeah, pretty much never locks you out. In fact, I'm not even going to do... I'm going to throw in Gamma Seal, and I'll talk about Gamma Seal in a second. Gamma Seal is a pretty good board break card. I didn't even see that I had a Gamma Seal. So the Drone Lockbird is super good against decks that want to search a ton. So Drytron is the main deck that I kind of want to point your attention to. Drytron. I think Virtual World does a lot of searching. Tri Brigade is going to be doing a lot of that kind of stuff. So yeah, we just like to say no to that. This card's kind of worse in the lower elo, and it gets better as you kind of continue on up into the higher ranks. The next card we're going to talk about is Skullmeister. Skullmeister is a pretty good hand trap. So basically, whenever a card effect is activated in your opponent's graveyard, we can send this card from our hand to our graveyard and negate it. That's any of the Eld traps. That's any of the Eldritch himself, summoning out the Golden Lord. So, super good card. Skullmeister, I think a little underrated in the meta right now. Alright, and then we'll talk about Gamma Seal as a board breaking card. So if you guys don't know how the Kaijus work, basically if your opponent has a monster, we can just tribute it and special summon out the Kaiju in attack position. That's the only effect we really care about. It has an archetype specific effect, but all the Kaijus basically read the same thing, that, tributing a monster and special summoning it. It's it's pretty good, tributing a Herald of Ultimateness, or tributing, if they make a Utopic F-Zero, which we'll talk about. Tributing cards that could be pesky and could stop you is really good. And then it's the same concept as Nibiru, because it's really easy to pop a monster that's big or whatever, or get rid of it. Our deck has a variety of ways to do that. So we are running 1 Gamma Seal because we have it. Try it out. I don't know. I think it might be good. I can definitely see applications in the meta for this card. It seems pretty good against my deck as well. Your opponent can't chain anything, so if you tribute a card that they can normally chain to it, they can't do that. You just tribute it instantaneously. You basically make them pay for the Kaiju, and then you give them this 2200 beater that you can typically deal with yourself. So pretty good card. And then I have a few going first cards. Right, I guess I'll talk about the Zodiac combo first. So Zodiac combo just says target 1 Zodiac Xyz monster you control. Attach 1 Zodiac monster from your deck to the monster. Pretty good. And then the secondary effect is really what we care about. That if this card's in our graveyard, except during the turn we sent it there, we can banish it and target 5 Zoo cards, typically the Xyz monsters, to recycle them, and then shuffle them all 5 in and draw 1. So you can play Pot of Avarice in this deck as well. I like Zodiac combo a little bit more because it lets me it lets me have like a turn where I can summon a materialless Trident, and then I can attach a material directly from my deck, so that's pretty good. And then we have a couple going first cards. You know, I don't really recommend playing these cards. Play Judgment, play Strike, but Phoenix Chain's pretty bad. Target one effect monster on the field, negate its effects, and can't attack. Not very good. Bottomless Strap Hole is, I think, a little bit better. This is like a much worse Solemn Strike, but when your opponent summons a monster with 1500 or more, we banish it. We actually destroy it and banish it, so it's pretty bad against stuff that can't be destroyed because it won't get rid of it, and it doesn't even stop things that get effects when they're summoned, so don't play this card. Play Solemn Strike instead, Solemn Judgment, but as you guys can see, I have a healthy 2 ultra rare points, so. Now for the extra deck. I'm going to talk about the Zeus package first, I guess. There's not really a Zeus package in this deck. It's just kind of Zeus because we get to overlay a bunch of Xyz on top of each other. Yeah, so basically, if you guys don't know what Zeus does, we get a board wipe effect on either player's turn by detaching 2 materials, and then if an XYZ monster battled this turn, we can Xyz this summon. We can Xyz summon this card using an Xyz we control. So the other card we'll talk about is Utopic F-Zero. Utopic F-Zero is basically just a gateway into this card, but we make it with 2 Xyz monsters with the same rank except for number monsters, 2 of our Zeus, pretty much every time. And then we get to just free overlay on this card, the Utopic Draco Future, which is just essentially a monster negate, so we can make this on our first turn, and it's pretty okay. This card also will take the effect if it's on the field. Pretty good, and it can't be destroyed by battle or card effects, so there's a lot of people who just won't read and like activate a Lightning Storm or a Geki on it, and it'll just do nothing, so that's pretty cool. I don't think I've ever had a problem with this card, actually, in any deck that I've ever played, but I feel like it's probably pretty strong on the ladder in general. I just, you know, for whatever reason, I'm just playing strong decks against it. And then this is the worst card in the extra deck. Just don't even play this card, honestly. But you could just Xyz summon it using 1 rank 4 monster you control. It inflicts piercing battle damage, and if it's destroyed by an opponent's card effect, you can special summon 1 monster that's level 5 or lower from your graveyard. This card is complete trash because of this effect at the very top, that you cannot use it as Xyz material the turn you do it. Otherwise, you'd just be able to... I thought that the reason that I wanted this card was that I could just overlay it on top in main phase 2 and get more and more materials for Zeus, but that's not the case. So, I guess this card's, you know, fringe situations for game. Right now I'm not really seeing a huge reason to play this card. I think I might move to some kind of a Link card, just potentially like a Link 2 or something that can get me some sort of value, some sort of something. I'm not really loving this card, and I might find more applications, or let me know if there's an application that I'm forgetting about with this card, or that I simply don't know about. So I'm not really forgetting about it. I don't think I ever learned it. So, and then the last non-Zoo card we'll talk about is Asuna the Earth Charmer. I've not made this card, but I suppose it's pretty good in the Zoo match, in the Zoo mirror match. Basically this card is 2 monsters, including an Earth. Link 2, you can target 1 Earth monster in your opponent's graveyard, special summon it to a zone this card points to. And then if it's destroyed by battle or card effects, when it was Link summoned, we can add 1 Earth. We can add a couple of Zeus from our deck to it. But we don't really care about that. If this card is sent... If this card is destroyed by battle or destroyed by an opponent, yeah, so we can't destroy it ourselves, which is a bit unfortunate. If we could, that would be an interesting combo potential, but the only use really I can see in this deck is to resummon Zeus from our opponent's graveyard in the Zoo mirror. So, pretty good. Definitely want to run this card. There's a Link 4, that's the last card I need for the extra deck. I don't remember the name of it right now, but it's like a train card. It's in that same pack, so you guys can look into that if you really want it. It's not really high on my priority list. Maybe it should be. I need to do a read of that card, to be honest. So we'll start off with and then I'm just running 1 extra Chaka 9 because of it. So all the Zoo Xyz share the same effect, that we can special summon them once per turn just by using any Zodiac monster we control with a different name. Super cool. And then all of the Xyz also gain the stats that are under the Zoo card. So basically, if we have a a Thoroughblade under Chaka 9, for example, it will be 1600 attack and 0 defense. It just gains those stats. You see, it's question mark, question mark. So that is like the original stat, kind of. Yeah, not kind of. That is the original stat. It's not like it's changed. So you can't Ragna 0 it. You can Ragna 0 it if there's Tenki. So, you know, be careful for the Ragna 0. It's pretty broken. I heard. Okay, so Chaka 9's effect. Excuse me, but if Chaka 9 is on the field, we can detach one XYZ material, target a zoo monster in our graveyard, and special summon it, but we cannot XC summon it, and its effects are negated. So a lot of the time we're using Chaka 9 to resummon a Trident that we can attach materials to with the next card we're going to talk about, which is Tiger Mortar. So Tiger Mortar has that same effect that I pretty much explained all the way down through, and then the difference is we can attach one XYZ material and target one zoo XYZs we control, attach one of those zoo monsters in our graveyard to that card as material. So although Chaka 9 negates the effects of the card, the effects will come back when we end our turn. So we can attach material to a card that, you know, perhaps has a quick effect that we'll talk about later. That way we can use it on our opponent's turn. So this is just cursory from maybe 10 games of playing this deck. So I'm sure I'm missing out on tons and tons of combos, but you know, it's neither here nor there. So this card has the standard zoo effect of the summoning and the attack and defense, but basically this card says, well, this card has Z material, your opponent cannot target face-up Zodiac monsters except this card with card effects, and then once per turn we have to detach an XYZ material from this card. Pretty much never detaching for this card's effect because you don't want to leave it on the board. You just XYZ summon another zoo on top of it. That's the beauty of the zoo deck. So this card, same standard zoo effect, except for this card can attack directly. That's like the new text here. And then when this card inflicts battle damage to your opponent, well, we don't care about any of this stuff. It's completely, yeah, we don't care about any of this stuff. It's never going to have 12 materials. We're never doing that. And then the final card, the most important card, the limited card, the best card, Zodiac Trident. So Zodiac Trident has the same zoo effect that we all know by this point, I would hope. And then the card basically just says once per turn. This means during either player's turn as a quick effect. If you guys don't know what this little problem-solving card text means right here, we can attach one material from this card, target one face-up card on the field, and destroy it. So I mentioned earlier that it's super cute to go into Zodiac Chaka 9, detach the material. Maybe it's even a Trident if we have another name in our graveyard that we can target, or that we can legally activate the effect, basically. Get the Trident back, overlay the Tiger Mortar on top of the Chaka 9. Use the Tiger Mortar effect to attach zoo material from our graveyard onto Trident. It won't have any attack or have any effect on our turn, but when we hit the end turn button, it will gain its effect back, and we are going to be able to pop cards again. So that's just kind of my first cursory foray into this deck. This is essentially what I'm dubbing Proto Zoo. This deck will definitely have many different iterations and alterations as I continue my climb. I mentioned some stuff to take out. I mentioned some budget options. I mentioned why we're kind of running these cards and not other cards. So I hope that makes sense to everybody, and I hope I kind of expressed myself well. Anyway, I hope everybody enjoyed. Like, comment, and subscribe. It's been your boy, Neosynthesis. Peace.